In liberal democracies where effective participation and competition is guaranteed, multi-party politics is a plausible form of democracy to address various interests of the citizens to government agenda. So, when the government acquiesced to a referendum on July 28, 2005, for Ugandans to decide on their preferred political system, either the movement political system or the multi-party political system, 92% voted in favor of political competition. The Political Parties and Organization Act was enacted in 2005 to allow functioning of political parties and guaranteeing people's person's right to form or join a political party of their choice. However, scratch beneath and it is obvious that the country's multi-party framework is in disarray. A 2007 paper titled Challenges of Transition from the Movement System in Uganda by Ijjo Mushemeza detailed this state of affairs can be deduced from the process of adopting a multi-party system of governance, the conduct of the first multi-party election in 2006, and the character and quality of debate during and after these elections. Fast forward to today, a July 2025 survey by the pollster Afrobarometer titled Party Like It's 1986 documented that Ugandans overwhelmingly support a multi-party environment, even though most of them also believe that contestation between political parties often or always leads to violent conflict. In effect, the more citizens associate with political competition, the more militarized the state of affairs has become, as witnessed particularly from the 2006 and 2021 elections. The 2021 polls are the most blood-stained in the country's history. Analysts and opposition actors alike argue that while the legal framework for political competition was established in 2005, the reality 20 years later on is different. A recurring concern, as detailed by Afrobarometer, is the widespread perception that political rivalry often incites violence, leaving many citizens fearful of harassment and political persecution.
Because multipartyism dictates that political parties operate freely, that citizens are free to belong to any political party of their choice, that political parties are able to compete in a with a level playing field. But what you see in Uganda, you see political parties' offices being raided every once in a while. You see people being arrested, abducted, imprisoned because of belonging to certain political parties. You see how the NRM and the state are intertwined to an extent that in the party primaries, you saw it was state officials, the RDCs, the DSOs, the DPCs and other police people conducting NRM primaries, which other parties are not allowed to do.
We see a lot of political parties in opposition being destroyed, being intimidated by the ruling government. And the essence of multipartyism is that when you create multipartyism, it would be that it's the easiest way of creating leaders at all levels, because leaders grow up on different systems within the political parties and the state system, so that by the time a person reaches the highest office, this person is tried and has been in different systems. But when you look at today, we are looking at a situation where political parties are suffocated, they cannot operate, and even when they bring leaders, you can see the type of leaders that are being brought within different levels of parliament. What you look at, the quality of leaders is not really at that level.
Fanning the disillusionment, critics argue that the NRM's iron hand grip using the carrot and stick method. They claim that the shift to multipartyism was more political expediency than a genuine move toward democratization. Some go as far as accusing the NRM of perpetuating personal rule under the guise of multipartyism.
The government in power is not generally interested in multipartyism. But they do it because of foreign influence. They have to do it, but actually when you look at the system of multipartyism in Uganda, you realize that it's actually not multipartyism, it is a one-party state. Leaders are not the president in power and the NRM power and the NRM party in power. They do not allow free space for political parties to actually reach the electorate anytime they feel they want. So you will see a blockage of so many of them, and with a lot of difficulties. Actually, the operations are a lot of difficult. the political landscape that we are seeing in this country of multipartyism, it has never been, even in the past regimes, could not actually be worse than what we see now.
If anything, right from 2005 when multipartyism was introduced, I think every effort has been how to undermine these political parties to operate.
The ruling NRM, however, defends that the multi-party framework has fallen short because opposition parties often promote hostility rather than constructive engagement. Party officials argue that opposition politics have become synonymous with animosity rather than policy-driven debate.
There are many people who want to build relationship on hatred. I want to give you an example. Under what circumstances would you have a multipartyism working whether the president of Uganda and head of another political party comes to parliament to perform a constitutional duty, and then the leader of the opposition, who has a duty to respond, says, I have boycotted? That shows you that the framework of the inter-party cooperation doesn't favor multipartyism because it is being built on hatred. And then finally, is whether the followers themselves understand what multipartyism is. Because I've listened to many people in Uganda talking, some in the NRM is saying, let them go, bagende. Those in the other parties saying, when we come into government, your people should go to exile. Then you begin wondering, is this the objective of multipartyism? So there is a lot that must be done to set multipartyism a good foundation for it to provide a form of governance that will be helpful to everybody.
Political scholars like Dr. Gerald Walulia point to a deeper structural problem. Many of Uganda's political parties lack solid organizational foundation. They tend to become active only during election season, then retreat into dormancy until the next cycle, undermining the day-to-day practice of a vibrant multi-party democracy.
Our political parties have lacked a strong foundation that can ensure their continued existence. There is a lack of institutional establishment within parties, that individuals become more important than parties. We also see that most of our political parties are electoral parties which are only functional during times of elections, and after elections you cease to hear about these parties again.
Further controversy surrounds statements made by President Museveni regarding opposition parties. Fresh from his 2016 election victory, Museveni said there would be no opposition by 2021.
And you've seen that over the years, as President Museveni's popularity has waned and the population has become more agitated, you've seen him declaring openly how he's going to destroy political parties. I think as the last, he has been doing this every after 5 years, but I think the most brazen one was 2021, when he declared that by 2026 there will be no opposition political parties. Now, ordinarily, if you have a president who actually says something like that in a public, at a public function, at a public forum, later on a swearing-in forum, that president would be eligible for impeachment, because essentially you are committing to commit an illegality. In other words, you don't recognize that these institutions called political parties, they're actually part of the architecture of the governance of the state.
Meanwhile, frameworks to foster interpolitical party dialogue, such as the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue, or IPOD, and the National Consultative Forum, which were established to bolster Uganda's multi-party structure, have been shunned by the main opposition parties, being accused of advancing the state's agenda than fostering democratic pluralism.
I think every effort has been how to undermine these political parties to operate. First of all, by trying to bring them into organizations that are state-driven, like the IPOD, there's the National Consultative Forum, and structurally these would be good processes if you were dealing with honest people. But I think that right now we've had a system where you have the NRM regime in charge of the country, and they are inherently dishonest people because what they say is not what they believe in.
As Uganda marks 2 decades since the reintroduction of multi-party politics, the question remains, has the country genuinely embraced democratic pluralism, or has the system merely served to legitimize entrenched political power? For many, the answer lies in whether the country can transform multi-party politics from a legal framework into a living democratic culture. David Ijjo, NTV.